great if I could like stick it under the table. That'd be so cool. If I could like
Oh, right.
glue or something.
Right.
I could put it here.
Yeah, no, I have shots of me with like my leg bleeding because leeches had to be taken off.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh man. Signal to me when you want me to start.
Okay. Hey, dude, am I glad to see you?
Hey, Ulysses, dude.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to see you too. I'm just here eating a little bit of food, but you know what? Let me put it away because I think I'm about to have a little dinner of conversation.
You're not going to believe what happened. I just got out of a trip on the time machine.
Yeah.
And I barely made it back.
Oh.
The main console dropped right off.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, I need to get this fixed.
Moly.
I barely made it in here.
Jeez.
I was in Borneo.
Wow.
I was in Borneo.
Okay.
I took the trip a bunch of years ago, and I decided to teleport myself back in time and do the trip again.
How did that go? Tell me
It was
about it.
it was amazing. Listen, I went 9 rounds with the Borneo jungle. 9 rounds with the Borneo jungle, and you know, it is the deepest, densest, most treacherous jungle you'll find anywhere. And you know, this was Borneo raw and uncensored. But like I'm telling you, dude, I was lucky to get back.
Jeez.
I was lucky to get back. But you know what? Before I get this thing fixed, and I have to get it fixed just as soon as possible, let's go through the trek that I had in the jungle, because it was one big adventure.
Take me through this thing.
Yeah,
these 9
I've got a
rounds.
map, I've got my notes.
Ooh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
Here, I'll move this out of the way a little bit.
It really was something else. So let me pull out the map here.
Beautiful. Oh,
Malaysian
nice.
Borneo.
Yes.
Malaysian Borneo here. This is the full of it, the full extent.
Okay, well, let me get that there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our journey begins in the state of Sarawak in Kuching, which is the capital of that state.
Oh, okay.
My guide was a really cool local guy named Andreas. We hooked up in Kuching and arranged this trek through a big chunk of Borneo, beginning in Kuching.
Right.
We got on one of these express longboats.
Oh,
They're
okay.
really fast, narrow, sleek boats, which are the main really mode of transportation, because there's really more or less just one highway, but hundreds of rivers.
Are these boats made out of wood or metal?
Well,
or
yeah,
does it depend?
they're pretty high tech. It's you know, they're composite materials and so forth. But the shape is that traditional long neck, you know, which has been used there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so we began in Kuching, and we made our way out of the mangroves around Kuching into the South China Sea.
Oh, wow.
And then we had to go along the coast, more or less, here into the Rajang River,
Okay.
which is
This is gonna look so interesting flipped.
which is the biggest river in Borneo.
Yeah.
And and that's a distance of probably like 150K actually.
Wow.
So we made it on the first day. We went from Kuching to Cebu, and then from Cebu, we went up the Rajang River, like I was saying, DT, to Kapit, which was another 150 or more K, going straight into the heart of Borneo. And that's as far as we got on that first day, and so we overnighted there.
Cool.
That's kind of a cut.
Yeah. End of round one.
End of round. But we soon reconnected, as I say, with mainland Borneo and entering the Rajang River at Cebu. And then once you start going upriver, it's this kind of toffee-colored, cappuccino-colored water. But Kapit is where we settled for that first night.
Hey, Mr. Arrow. When we last spoke, you were telling me about round one. What's up with round two?
Day two, round two.
Yeah.
We wake up in the morning in Kapit with the sunrise, get back on one of these long neck expresses, Andreas and I, and we go further upriver to Balaga, another about 100K. And now we're getting really deep into the Borneo jungle. And Andreas, but that first night we spend in his home village, which I say is just north of Balaga. To get there, we have to go further upriver, but now we're on these little long neck boats, the traditional ones, with just a little motor in the back. They used to just be paddled, by hand. They cut through the water nicely, and anyway, so off we go to spend the second night in his home village. And what's fascinating about Borneo tribal culture is, regardless of the tribe, the custom is to build these elaborate longhouses that house multiple families. And they're all about 4 meters above the ground. And for safety and security. The kids are playing everywhere, and even if, despite the kids, there are poisonous snakes, scorpions, all manners of biting insects, and this creates a real safety buffer. And it's really like a city on stilts, And I'm just looking back to my notes here, and they're made from the hardwood, that surrounds these villages. Andreas's village, imagine this, a longhouse with 93 doors, 3 blocks, 3 kind of divisions, over 100 families, about 500 people.
Wow.
All in this interconnected longhouse. Amazing. And the Cayenne, what they're best known for, they're a very musical and kind of artistic people. So that night we happened to arrive when the kids of the village were doing a kind of musical performance with instruments and dance, traditional dance. And so that was a really kind of cool and fun first night, and in his village. And that's kind of how that, that day, that round ended.
Well, thanks, Arrow. I'm looking forward to hearing about round 3.
Okay, all right. It gets
Medication.
I'll tell you, it gets a lot more interesting.
I mean, this is already fascinating, so bring it on.
Yeah.
I want to hear. So we've already gone through 2 days, 2 rounds of this trip in the time machine.
Yeah.
And I'm keen to hear about the third.
Yeah.
So what happened after you left the longhouses?
Well, after we left the Cayenne Longhouse, we went back to Balaga, and we connected with Andreas's driver, the guy he uses to take him off-road, Ronald. Anyway, so then we hook up with him, and we do from Balaga, we do a bit of a circle. Let me just rearrange the map a little to make it clearer. We do a circle from Balaga off-road, and we do this kind of a loop, which is a good 200 or 300K, I think, actually. And our first stop was this outpost little village. It's as small a place as it can be, used by the logging companies. And it had a little bar and a little supermarket, and we stocked up on supplies for our next several days through the jungle. And Andreas, he's used to grabbing the chicken because that's quick to eat, quick to cook, and everybody likes it. But I noticed they had in the freezer wild duck. And I thought, oh man, Andreas, we've got to get the wild duck, man. That's going to be delicious. And so we got, 3 or 4 of these ducks, nice sized ducks.
Beauty.
Yeah. We got some pork tripe and rice and some vegetables because we were going to be cooking all our own food from that point on. That we couldn't really depend on anyone but ourselves as far as that went. So we stocked up at this logging outpost, Anding it was called, and then we continued on. This is a very mountainous region now that we're getting into, and it's a lot of up and down on these logging roads, and our destination for that night was a Penan village, and this is really deep in Borneo. And the Penan are famous for their abilities to hunt with the blowgun, the blowpipe. They're expert with that. And anyway, we had a very serious slog ahead of us, up and down, and night was falling, and we still had not made camp. And then it started to rain. It really started to rain hard. And we kept going, but it was getting muddier and muddier because these are dirt logging roads. And finally, we were pretty close to the Penan village that we needed to find, well past sunset. But there was this really steep climb. It was like 45 degrees, that we had to get up in this 4x4 in the rain, in the mud. We made it about halfway, and then that was it. We could not go further. We had to take what we could out of the 4x4, rucksacks on our shoulders, bags in both arms, food supplies, and, most of what we had. And in the dark, with just, flashlights, torches, we had to make our way up the rest of that really steep incline. And, we were in mud up to our knees most of the time, right? So we make it up to the top of this incline in the pounding rain. And then the village is below us. And, luckily, of course, these guys do know where they are. But even in this case, they hadn't been there for a while, so they have to get their bearing. But we get to the ridge, we look down, we see some bit of light, That's not like there's no electricity to speak of. They have maybe a generator, but very dim, but we see something. And then we have to make our way steeply down, sliding on our asses for some of it, to finally get to the village, the Penan village, and the camp. And we were a sight to behold, and no showers, so we had to kind of just, wash ourselves with water from a well, and we had to make dinner. We hadn't eaten since breakfast, actually. They gave us a really nice room, where we could roll out our sleeping bags, the three of us, very, 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 plenty of space, spacious, and so we bedded down for the night and got up early the next morning with, the roosters crowing, the cockerels crowing. And we're, thrust right into the daily routine of village life, And, we were a bit of an attraction because they don't get a lot of people passing through, so the kids particularly were curious, and they wanted to interact, and it was just all kind of very interesting. And we sat down after breakfast with the chief of the tribe and, asked him if he could take us out a little bit and show us the surrounding area. And like most villages, it was on a river. And, Borneo is just riddled with rivers. It was on a river. And actually, he and his friend wanted to hunt for monkeys and certain types of birds with very colorful feathers that they wanted to use in ceremonial headdresses. So they actually had a plan to go out that day. So we joined them. And, on the riverbank, I got an impromptu lesson in how to use a blowgun. And, they're about 6 feet long, these things. Wow. Some of them can be taken apart. A lot of them cannot. About 6 feet long. And, well, actually, hang on. I have actually a dart here that we were using.
No way, from the time machine?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I brought it back with me.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is what it looks like.
Let me get some focus on that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
This is what it looks like.
So we got the pointy end over here. That's the business end?
That's the business end, yeah. And then, of course, it has to have that pressure when it comes shooting out. And so you need this. You know what? This is not cotton. This is like some sort of cocoon type material that they use and have used since kind of time immemorial to create that tight fit inside the blowgun. And they're deadly accurate with this thing. I sort of touched the end. Some of them are poison tipped. I hope this one is. And the trick with a blowgun, it's not like it's it has to come kind of from the abdomen, right? And then it's just a big.
Wow.
And the thing.
Did you hit anything with your blowgun?
Now, yeah, well, I don't think I did. I may have. Kind of close. I mean, these birds were, a good 50 feet up in the canopy, and the monkeys were pretty far away. These guys were going for both. They didn't get any monkeys themselves that day. They didn't get any monkeys. They did get a number of kind of smallish birds with these gorgeous red, yellow, blue feathers. A little bit of a shame to see them expire like that, but it's it's their traditional kind of harvesting of the forest, totally sustainable, of course, and they use it in their ceremonial headdresses and costumes, and they have since time immemorial. So, and so that was a really great afternoon spent on the riverbank next to that village, learning about blowguns and hunting with these weapons, which are also used, of course, in warfare between tribes. If there are disputes, etc., the blowgun is one of the preferred weapons. We told the chief that we were interested in pygmy elephants.
Interesting.
Yeah. pygmy elephants.
Yeah, pygmy elephants.
I don't think there's any other place in the world that has them but Borneo. They're meant to be a kind of subspecies of the Asian elephant that is commonly found on Sumatra, for example, Indonesia, you know, believed to be a subspecies of that, but they are really, it's this kind of thing, you know, where species of animals that exist on an island, you know, whether it's Borneo or Australia or Madagascar or, you know, what have you, they do develop unique kind of genetic quirks, and so this pygmyism is something that exists there. There's the pygmy elephant, and I mean some of the adult females anyway are not much bigger than a large cow.
Wow.
You know, and there's also the pygmy rhinoceros in Borneo, and the tigers did at one time roam freely. By some accounts, they're extinct now. A lot of the native people insist that they're still alive, and they do on occasion see them. So there might be some last vestige of that. The clouded leopard certainly still exists in Borneo, and they have these very large cloud-like spots, not like the African leopard, which are more kind of like, you know, these rosettes, smaller. These are kind of cloud-like large spots of the clouded leopard. But where we were was not the place to see pygmy elephants. So he explained to us that there was another tribe of the Penan, much further south, that we should attempt to visit. So we completed the loop to Balaga. Well, we drove cross-country on logging trails. And there's a lot of clear cutting going on, you know, in this part of Borneo, and it was a bit of a heartache, really, to see some, you know, swaths of this original growth forest with the heavy woods, the ironwood, the fig trees, giants, you know, teaks, just being, you know, clear cut for commercial reasons, and the Asian market, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, home construction, furniture. Some of the most beautiful furniture is made from these types of woods. Anyway, so we drove a series of logging roads to get to this part of Malaysian Borneo, which is where you want to be for the pygmy elephants. And from Balaga, it's probably another 120k. Day 4 and 5 rounds, boxing rounds, you know, in the thick of the Borneo jungle. Deep in that
Jungle fisticuffs.
In that heart of darkness.
Yeah, heart of darkness.
In that heart of darkness,
Yeah.
which by the way was something that I brought with me.
Oh, nice. That's a very cool lens to view the trip through.
Yeah, it is.
Like
It is Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which, as we know, is it's about some of the really sort of atrocities that occurred in the Belgian Congo, in Africa, in the late 1800s, maybe early 1900s, and documented by Joseph Conrad when he was there. It was, of course, famously turned into a film by Francis Coppola called
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, of course. You know, he wasn't the first guy who wanted to make a film out of that, by the way. There were a number of people, most notably Orson Welles. Orson Welles wanted to make a film out of Heart of Darkness. he had everything set up. He began filming, but it just didn't have the right feel, the right look, and he kind of he more or less abandoned the project. It was never completed, and one of the few failures of the great Orson Welles. But anyway, exactly right. It was Heart of Darkness was a really great lens through which to see and through which to view the trip into Borneo's Heart of Darkness. We make it to a little village here. It's another Patan village called Putai. And and we're asking people. We're here for the pygmy elephant.
Right.
We want to have one was and everyone has a story. Oh yeah, a day ago, 2 days ago, fetching water last week. But it's one of these things where it's a glimpse, and you rarely see them for more than a few minutes at a time. They're quite shy, reclusive, and retiring. We didn't have any luck in the first village. We drove again along a logging road to something called Long Busang, and again, we're asking, inquiring, and we're having a local guy take us out to spots where they have been seen. Again, all day we were striking out. I think at one point, we did see a clouded leopard kind of just breeze by. I mean, it's so distinct, but it was so quick. And the funny thing is, we only saw it for a split second. But there was that big cat smell that lingered after he came through. It was really it was interesting. It was interesting. But kind of at the 11th hour, we did have a bit of luck.
No way.
Yeah. And it was kind of on the opposite side of the river, and there was a mother and a calf. That had broken off from a group. We could hear the others in the group kind of behind her, crunching through the jungle, taking down foliage, vegetation of various kind to graze, and they were right by the river taking a drink. And so we had that, kind of magic moment, which, luckily, because after all the effort to get down there from the earlier Patan village, you really don't want to strike out, but it happens because it's Mother Nature, and you never know.
Jeepers. Wow.
Yeah.
Action-packed.
Yeah.
Man. What else could happen on this trip? Like, my mind's already pretty... I can see why you went in the time machine to relive some of this.
I just needed... I needed to re-energize and relive those moments, because they were kind of so intense, many of them. Mm-hmm. This is what I was using when we were looking for the pygmy elephants. A lot of this... There's no trail. I mean, you have to hack your way through the jungle with a machete like this. Really got to be careful about traveling into that type of territory. And this happens to be a little piece of Angkor Wat.
What?
I go to an orang sanctuary just outside Kuching.